The forest of Zirath was silent except for the soft sound of wind moving through the giant trees. The human traveler Daniel stepped carefully on the rough ground. He had landed on this strange planet only a few hours ago, searching for rare minerals that his ship had detected. His small scanner beeped slowly, showing that something valuable was near. But more than the minerals, he felt something else around him, an invisible presence as if someone was watching him. Daniel's heart beat faster. He was not afraid, but he was cautious. He had heard many stories of explorers who went missing on alien worlds. He checked the energy pistol on his belt, his only weapon, and kept walking deeper into the forest. The light of 2 suns fell through the branches, making the shadows look alive. Suddenly the ground shook. Heavy footsteps echoed between the trees. Daniel stopped, his hand on his weapon. The sound grew louder, closer, until he saw a huge figure step out from the mist. It was a woman, no, not human, but something far beyond human. She was at least 8 feet tall, her body strong and powerful, covered in a light armor that looked like it was grown from crystal. Her eyes glowed faint blue, sharp and unblinking, and her voice carried both challenge and amusement. "You're too small to satisfy my species," she teased, her lips curling into a half-smile. Daniel froze for a second, caught between shock and disbelief. He had expected wild animals, maybe hostile tribes, but not this. The alien woman looked down at him like he was a child. Her tone was mocking, but not cruel. There was a strange playfulness in her words, like she wanted to test him. Daniel straightened his shoulders. "Maybe I am small," he replied calmly, "but I have survived more than you can imagine." The alien tilted her head, studying him with curiosity. Her towering figure blocked the light, casting him in her shadow. She circled around him slowly as if she was a predator examining prey. "Interesting," she murmured. "Most humans I met before ran away. You don't run, you stand. Are you brave, or just foolish?" Her words were sharp, but Daniel knew she was watching his reaction. He stayed steady, even though his instincts told him to step back. "Maybe a little of both," he said, keeping his voice firm. The alien laughed, a deep and echoing sound that made the forest birds scatter. "I like that answer," she said. She leaned forward, lowering her face close to his. Her eyes were bright, and he could see strange patterns glowing under her skin like flowing energy veins. "Tell me, small man, why are you here? Minerals, riches, or do you seek something more?" Daniel took a slow breath. He knew one wrong word could turn this meeting dangerous. "I came for resources," he admitted, "but I think I found something more important." Her eyebrow lifted. "And what is that?" He looked up at her, not blinking. "A challenge." For the first time, the alien woman seemed caught off guard. Her lips curved again, but this time not in mockery, in respect. "Bold words from someone who could fit in the palm of my hand," she said softly. She reached out her massive hand, not to strike but to test him. Her fingers brushed his shoulder, and even that light touch felt like the weight of stone. Yet Daniel did not flinch. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the hum of the forest. Finally, she pulled her hand back and crossed her arms. "Very well, human," she said. "You amuse me. But amusement does not last forever. If you truly wish to stand before my kind, you will need more than words." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Then test me." Her laugh returned, deep and powerful. "Careful what you ask for, little one. My tests are not for the weak." The tension in the air grew heavy. Daniel could feel that this was only the beginning of something far greater. He had come to Zirath searching for simple minerals. But now he stood before a giant alien woman, whose every word and movement carried danger and mystery. He knew that if he failed, he might not survive. Yet if he succeeded, he might earn something no human had ever gained before, respect and maybe more, from a species that looked down on him. The alien woman stepped back into the mist, her voice echoing around him. "Follow me if you dare, human. Let us see how far your courage can carry you." Daniel tightened the grip on his pistol, though he knew it was useless against her strength. He was not sure if he was walking toward danger or destiny, but he knew one thing: he could not turn back now. The challenge had been made, and his human pride refused to surrender. With steady steps, he followed her into the forest, deeper into the unknown. Daniel followed the towering alien woman deeper into the forest of Zirath. Her long steps were quick and graceful, while his boots crunched noisily against the rough ground. The gap between their sizes felt almost like the gap between two worlds. Every time she glanced back at him, her glowing eyes carried both amusement and challenge. as if she was waiting for him to give up. After a while, she stopped in a wide clearing surrounded by trees as tall as buildings. She turned to face him, her arms crossed over her chest. The sunlight caught on her crystalline armor, making it shine like glass filled with fire. "This is where we test you," she declared. Her voice echoed like thunder. "I need to know if a human's courage is anything more than empty words." Daniel kept his face calm. He had no illusions about her strength. Her muscles rippled under her skin, and every move she made carried power. But he also knew one thing. Brute force was not the only path to victory. The alien bent down and picked up a boulder, heavier than anything Daniel could dream of lifting. With a flick of her wrist, she tossed it aside, and it crashed against a tree, splitting it in half. The ground trembled from the impact. "Can you match that, little one?" she asked with a smirk. Daniel shook his head. "No, but I don't need to." Her smile widened. "Then show me what you can do," Daniel thought quickly. He didn't have her raw power, but he had his tools and his mind. Pulling a compact device from his belt, he set it on the ground. With a press of a button, thin wires shot out, climbing up nearby trees and connecting in a web. Within seconds, he had built a small energy trap. He looked at her calmly. "Step into the circle." The alien raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "You think this web can hold me?" "Try it," Daniel replied. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, her long legs moving into the circle of wires. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the trap activated, sending arcs of blue light racing around her body. The ground sizzled with energy. The air smelled of burning ozone. To Daniel's surprise, she didn't panic. Instead, she laughed. Her body strained against the field, muscles flexing, energy crawling over her armor. With one powerful move, she pushed forward, breaking through the web as if it were paper. Sparks flew as the device short-circuited and exploded on the ground. Daniel staggered back, shielding his face from the burst. When the smoke cleared, the alien woman stood tall, not even scratched. She looked down at him, her expression both mocking and impressed. "Clever," she said slowly. "Very clever, but not enough." Daniel sighed, but he smiled too. "I wasn't trying to stop you. I was testing how strong you are." Her laugh rolled through the forest again, deep and echoing. "Well, you admit weakness, yet you twist it into strength. Interesting, most men of your size would break under me. You try to measure me instead." Daniel nodded. "If I can't outmuscle you, I'll outthink you." The alien studied him carefully now, her amusement shifting into something sharper. Respect, perhaps, or at least curiosity. She turned and pointed to a fallen log, massive and thick. "Then prove it again," she challenged. "If you cannot lift, show me another way." Daniel examined the log. It was impossible for him to move it with his bare hands. But he scanned the clearing and noticed a slope nearby. He grabbed a piece of vine, tied it to his belt, and wrapped it around the log. Then he moved toward the slope, creating a pulley with the natural incline of the land. Slowly, painfully, but surely the log began to shift. Inch by inch it rolled until gravity took over and dragged it down the slope with a crash. The alien watched, her eyes glowing brighter. "You use the world itself as your ally," she said softly. "Not bad, human. Not bad at all." Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow. "Strength is not always in the body. Sometimes it's in the mind." For the first time, her mocking smile faded into something else, a thoughtful expression. She stepped closer, her massive frame towering over him. Her shadow fell across his entire body. But this time there was no mockery in her eyes. "Perhaps I judged too quickly," she said. "Perhaps small things can carry weight after all." Daniel looked up, steady. "Size doesn't matter when survival is at stake. All that matters is will." Their eyes locked, and for a brief moment the forest seemed to hold its breath. Daniel felt a strange shift in her, like her playful teasing was turning into real interest. But then she shook her head and straightened, her voice strong again. "Do not think you have won me over, little one. This was only the beginning. If you truly want to stand among my kind, you must prove yourself in battle. Not tricks, not games, but true danger." Daniel tightened his grip on his weapon. "Then bring it." The alien woman's smile returned, but now it was sharper, fiercer. "Good. Because the forest of Zerath is full of predators and one is already hunting us." At that moment, a deep growl echoed from the shadows of the trees. The sound was low, rumbling, and hungry. Daniel turned toward it, his eyes narrowing, while the alien woman unfolded her long spear from her back. The test of strength was over. The test of survival had just begun. The growl faded into the distance, leaving only the soft hum of the forest, Daniel kept his weapon ready, his eyes scanning the shadows. But the alien woman raised her hand, signaling him to stay calm. "The beast has gone," she said. "It was only watching. For now." Daniel slowly lowered his weapon but didn't relax fully. He had learned quickly that this planet never truly slept. "Do creatures here always stalk like that?" he asked. The alien gave a short laugh, though her eyes stayed fixed on the tree line. "On Zerath, everything hunts. Even the flowers bite if you get too close." Daniel shook his head. "No wonder you're so strong." "To survive here, you'd have to be." At his words, her expression shifted. She looked down at him with something softer than mockery this time, something closer to memory. Without speaking, she walked toward a fallen tree and sat on its thick trunk. Her massive form bent slightly forward, like she was weighing whether to speak or not. Daniel joined her, careful to keep his distance. "You act like I'm small, weak beneath your notice," he said slowly. "But the way you fight, the way you carry yourself, it's more than pride. It feels like a shield." The alien woman tilted her head, surprised by his observation. For a moment she didn't reply. Then finally she said, "You are not entirely wrong." Her voice had lost its playful edge. It was deeper now, more serious. The light of the twin suns fell across her armor, and Daniel saw her features in sharper detail. The glow under her skin flickered like faint veins of fire. "My people," she began, "are called the Veyari. For centuries we have been a warrior race. We believe only the strongest deserve to live. Only the tallest and most powerful can protect our kind. Size is not only beauty to us, it is proof of survival." Daniel listened quietly, knowing these words were not easy for her to share. "In our history," she continued, her eyes focused on the horizon, "the weak were left behind. The small were ignored. Even those who showed kindness but lacked power were seen as useless. Only those who crushed their enemies, who proved their dominance, were remembered." Her tone hardened as if she was repeating lessons drilled into her since childhood. But then she sighed, and for the first time her shoulders lowered, heavy with something more than strength. "I had a mate once," she said softly. "He was tall, fierce, the kind every Veyari female is told to desire. But when the predators came, when the sky burned with fire, he ran. He left me to fight alone." Her voice tightened at the memory. "I killed the beasts. I survived. But in my heart I learned a truth my people will never admit. Strength of body means nothing without strength of spirit." Daniel felt the weight of her confession. This was not the mocking giant who had teased him in the clearing. This was someone scarred by betrayal, carrying pain under all her power. "You think humans are small," Daniel said carefully, "and we are compared to you. But sometimes it's the ones who are underestimated who stand firm when no one else does." Her glowing eyes turned toward him, searching his face. "And are you such a one, Daniel? Will you stand when it matters, or will you run like he did?" Daniel didn't look away. "I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I can promise you this: I don't run from those I choose to stand with." Silence hung between them, heavy but not empty. For the first time, the alien woman's lips curved into something softer than a smirk. It was not amusement, not mockery, just the faint shadow of respect. "You speak boldly," she said. "Perhaps too boldly for one so small, yet there is a fire in you I did not expect." Daniel gave a small shrug. "Maybe your people measure strength in size. My people measure it in loyalty." Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully, but her voice had lost its sharpness. "Perhaps there is more than one truth." The forest around them shifted, the sound of wings flapping overhead. The moment of quiet broke, but Daniel knew something important had changed. She had revealed a part of herself, a wound hidden beneath armor, and that truth had opened a door between them. She rose again, towering over him, but her gaze was less cold now. "Enough words. The predators that stalk us will not wait. But remember this, Daniel, if you fall, I will not mourn you. If you rise, I may call you something greater than small." Daniel stood as well, his hand resting on his weapon, his eyes locked on hers. "Then let's find out which it will be." The alien gave a slow nod, her crystal armor catching the fading sunlight. "Follow me then, human. The next trial waits beyond these trees." As they stepped into the shadows once more, Daniel felt his heart beat faster, not from fear this time, but from anticipation. The Veyari woman was no longer just a towering stranger. She was a puzzle, a mystery of strength and scars, and he was determined to prove that humans, small though they might be, could stand beside giants. The deeper they walked into the forest of Zerath, the darker it became. The twin suns had slipped behind the canopy, leaving the land bathed in dim green light. The trees stood tall like ancient guardians, their roots twisting through the soil like giant snakes. Every sound carried weight here, the rustle of leaves, the snap of a branch, even the wind that whistled through the hollow trunks. Daniel's nerves sharpened with every step. The alien woman, Vayari warrior, moved without hesitation. Her long strides were silent, her eyes glowing faintly as if they could pierce through the shadows. She carried her crystal spear loosely in one hand, but Daniel noticed the way her muscles tightened every time a sound echoed in the distance. "This place feels alive," Daniel whispered. "It is," she replied, "and it does not like intruders." Her voice was steady, but Daniel caught the tension in her tone. That was when he realized the forest itself was part of the trial. Suddenly, the air shifted. The silence broke with a deep, vibrating roar that rattled the ground. Daniel froze. This roar was different from the beast they had heard earlier. This one was closer, hungrier. The alien woman turned her head sharply, her eyes narrowing. "Stay close, human. The predators have found our scent." Daniel tightened his grip on his pistol. His chest rose and fell quickly, but he forced himself to breathe steady. "What are we up against?" Her answer was cut short. The forest erupted as a massive creature burst from the shadows. It was at least 15 feet long, covered in dark scales that shimmered like metal. Its mouth opened wide, rows of jagged teeth glistening with slime. 4 glowing eyes fixed on them, and its claws dug into the earth, tearing roots as if they were paper. "A scar beast," she said calmly, though Daniel could feel her body tense beside him. "It kills for territory, not for hunger. Stand ready." Daniel raised his pistol and fired. Blue bolts of energy shot into the creature's side, burning marks into its scales, but the beast hardly slowed. It let out a furious screech and charged forward, shaking the ground with every step. The alien woman leapt ahead, her spear flashing with crystal light. She struck the beast across the face, leaving a glowing scar. The scar howled, swinging its massive tail like a whip. Daniel dove aside as the tail smashed through a tree, splintering it into pieces. "Stay behind me," she commanded, but Daniel refused to hide. Rolling to his feet, he spotted the creature's underbelly as it reared back. He aimed carefully and fired again, this time hitting a softer spot between the scales. The beast roared in pain, stumbling slightly. The alien glanced back, surprise flickering across her face. "Not useless after all," she muttered. The scar lunged again, jaws snapping. She met it head-on, bracing her spear against the ground and driving it into the creature's mouth. Sparks flew as crystal clashed with bone. The beast thrashed wildly, trying to crush her under its weight. Daniel's heart pounded. She was strong, but even her size was nothing against a beast this massive. Thinking quickly, he grabbed one of his small explosives from his pack, set the timer, and dashed toward the beast. He slid beneath its body, attaching the charge to the soft scales of its stomach. The scar tried to snap at him, but the alien warrior slammed her fist into its jaw, buying Daniel enough time to roll out from under it. He shouted, "Now!" The explosion shook the clearing, fire and smoke bursting from the beast's belly. The scar let out a final screech, stumbling backward. The alien woman pulled her spear free and, with one powerful strike, drove it straight into the creature's neck. The beast collapsed, its body hitting the ground with a thunderous crash. For a moment, neither of them moved. The forest fell silent again, as if it too was shocked by the battle. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead, his chest heaving. The alien warrior stood tall, pulling her spear free and resting it on her shoulder. She looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with something new. Not just amusement, not just curiosity, but respect. "You placed yourself under its jaws," she said. "You risked death for the strike." Daniel shrugged, forcing a small smile. "Better to act than to hide. Besides, I had you to cover me." Her lips curved slightly, almost a real smile this time. Perhaps small does not always mean weak. But before Daniel could answer, the ground trembled again. His stomach dropped. He turned to see more glowing eyes in the distance. 2, 3, maybe 4 pairs, all moving closer. The alien woman's grip tightened on her spear. "The scar did not hunt alone," she said grimly. This was only the first. Daniel raised his pistol, though he knew its charge was running low. His body ached, but his spirit burned hotter than ever. "Then we fight again." She gave him a sharp nod, her voice low and fierce. "Side by side, human. Let us see if your fire burns long enough." As the shadows stirred and more creatures stepped into the clearing, Daniel realized the trial was far from over. The rising danger was only beginning, and whether he lived or died, he knew one thing: he would not turn back. The forest clearing shook as more scar beasts emerged from the shadows. Their glowing eyes lit up the darkness, and their growls rolled through the trees like thunder. Daniel counted at least 3 of them, maybe more hiding beyond the mist. Each one was as massive as the first, their claws slicing into the ground as they circled the 2 unlikely allies. Daniel's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. His pistol was nearly drained, and his small pack of explosives was almost empty. He had to choose his moves carefully. Beside him, the alien warrior gripped her spear, her broad shoulders tense but her stance unshaken. "They are testing us," she muttered. "The Scar always move in packs. They will circle, then strike together." Daniel glanced at her. "Then we hold together. You cover the heavy strikes. I'll go for their weak spots." Her glowing eyes turned toward him, searching his face. For a heartbeat, she hesitated, as if wondering if she could trust a human so small against such beasts. But then she gave a sharp nod. "Do not falter, human. If you fall, I will not carry you." Daniel smirked, despite the fear knotting his stomach. "Don't worry. I'll be the one saving you." The moment ended as the first beast lunged forward with a roar. Its claws slashed toward Daniel, but the alien warrior leapt between them, her spear spinning with brutal precision. She drove the crystal blade into the Scar's shoulder, forcing it back with a screech. Another beast lunged from the side. Daniel rolled across the ground, firing his pistol into its underbelly. The blast tore through soft flesh, making the creature stumble, but his pistol fizzled, the last of its charge drained. "Useless now, out of power," he shouted. The alien didn't glance his way. She struck her spear into the ground and flipped over the first Scar, landing with the grace of a predator. "Then fight with your hands. Use your mind. Do not stand still." Daniel's instincts screamed as a third beast lunged for him, jaws wide. With no weapon left, he grabbed a jagged rock from the ground and jammed it into the creature's eye. The Scar howled, thrashing violently. Daniel held on as it shook its head, then rolled free just before it crushed him beneath its claws. The alien warrior's voice thundered through the chaos. "You risk your life without fear. Foolish, but brave. Better foolish than dead," Daniel yelled back, scrambling to his feet. The battle turned into a storm of motion. She moved like a whirlwind, her spear flashing with deadly arcs. Every strike of hers sent blood spraying across the forest floor. Daniel, smaller and weaker, relied on agility and cunning. He darted between roots, distracting the beasts, throwing stones, setting small traps from the scraps of his broken devices. But soon, the largest of the Scar charged directly at the alien woman, jaws snapping around her spear. It clamped down with crushing force, dragging her off balance. For the first time, she stumbled, her massive frame crashing to one knee. Daniel's heart stopped. She was strong, stronger than anything he had ever seen, but even she could be overwhelmed. And if she fell here, they both would die. Without thinking, Daniel sprinted forward. He grabbed one of his last explosives, small but deadly, and leapt onto the beast's back. The creature bucked violently, nearly throwing him off, but he clung tightly, forcing the explosive between the beast's armored scales. "Move," he shouted at her. She looked up, shock flashing in her glowing eyes, but she obeyed. Rolling aside, she wrenched her spear free just as Daniel triggered the charge. The explosion ripped through the beast's spine, sending fire and smoke into the air. The Scar collapsed with a final screech, crashing to the ground. Daniel flew backward, slamming hard into the dirt. Pain shot through his body and his ears rang from the blast. When the smoke cleared, the beast lay dead. Daniel groaned, trying to push himself up, but his arms trembled. He had burned the last of his strength. Then a shadow loomed over him. He braced himself, thinking another beast was upon him. But instead, the alien warrior knelt at his side. Her massive hand reached out, not to mock, not to test, but to lift him gently to his feet. "You risked your life for me," she said, her voice low, almost uncertain. "Why?" Daniel wiped the blood from his lip, his breathing heavy. "Because I told you, I don't run from those I stand with." For the first time, her stern face softened. There was no laughter, no mocking smile, only silence and something deeper in her glowing eyes. Respect. The remaining Scar, seeing 2 of their pack destroyed, backed away slowly into the shadows. Their growls faded into the distance until the forest was quiet again. Daniel leaned heavily on her arm, exhaustion threatening to drop him. She steadied him with surprising care, her hand large enough to cover half his chest. You are reckless, she said finally. But you are no coward. In my world, trust is rare. But tonight you have earned mine. Daniel managed a tired grin. Then we make a good team. She looked down at him, and this time she didn't argue. Instead, she gave the faintest nod. Perhaps small does not mean weak after all. The two stood together in the clearing, blood and smoke clinging to the air. But for the first time since meeting her, Daniel felt like he wasn't just surviving. He was standing beside an equal, someone who had tested his limits and begun to see him differently. And though the forest still whispered with hidden dangers, Daniel knew one thing for certain. Their battle of trust was only the beginning. The clearing was silent except for the faint crackle of burning leaves where the scar beast had fallen. Daniel leaned heavily against a tree, his body aching from bruises and burns. Every muscle screamed at him to rest, but he refused to show weakness in front of her. The alien warrior stood nearby, her chest rising and falling slowly, her crystal spear dripping with dark blood. Even after such a brutal fight, her posture was proud, her head held high. Yet Daniel noticed something different in her now. Her glowing eyes were softer, watching him not as prey or a toy, but as a companion. You should have died back there, she said finally, her voice low. Humans are small, fragile. That beast could have crushed you with one swipe. Daniel gave a tired smile. Maybe, but it didn't. And if I hadn't tried, you'd be the one lying here instead. Her lips pressed together. For a long moment she didn't reply. Then slowly she walked toward him. Her tall frame cast a shadow over his smaller body. But instead of intimidation, he felt something unexpected. A sense of safety. She crouched, her glowing eyes meeting his directly. You risked your life for me, she said again, as if testing the truth of it. Daniel nodded. That's what we do. Humans fight hardest for those they stand with. Even if we're small, even if we're weak compared to others. We don't abandon our own. Her head tilted slightly, studying him. The faint veins of light beneath her skin glowed brighter, like fire flowing through crystal. She reached out, her massive hand brushing lightly against his shoulder. The touch was careful, almost hesitant, as though she feared her strength might break him. No very male has ever done that for me, she admitted. Her voice carried a raw honesty Daniel had not heard before. They boast of size. They compete for power. But when true danger comes, most look to themselves first. You are different. Daniel's smile faded into seriousness. Maybe different is what you need. She drew in a deep breath and stood again, towering above him. For the first time, her mocking tone was gone completely. Instead, she spoke with quiet respect. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps strength is not measured only in size, but in spirit. Daniel pushed himself upright, though his legs shook. That's what I've been trying to tell you since the start. For the first time, she gave him something like a real smile. Not cruel, not playful, genuine. And perhaps I am beginning to believe you. The two of them began walking again, leaving the clearing behind. The forest was darker now, strange lights glowing between the trees. The alien warrior guided the path, but this time she didn't walk far ahead. She slowed her pace, allowing Daniel to walk beside her. As they moved, she began to speak more openly. When I was young, I was told to seek only the strongest. That a mate's worth was proven in his height, his muscle, his victories. I believed it. I gave my trust to one who was tall and fierce. But when the scar came, he ran. He left me behind. Her voice hardened at the memory. That day I swore never to trust weakness again. Never to allow anyone smaller than me to stand at my side. She looked down at him, her expression softening. Until now, Daniel felt the weight of her words. He could see how deeply her past had shaped her. Then maybe I'm here to show you a different way, he said. She stopped walking, her tall frame still as stone. For a moment, she just looked at him. Her glowing eyes searched his face as if trying to decide if he was truly different or just another fleeting test. Finally, she spoke. You are not like my people. You are not like any I have known. You are small, yes, but... She hesitated, then finished. But your courage fills more space than any giant. Daniel blinked, surprised by the honesty in her words. He gave a small grin. That almost sounded like a compliment. Her lips curved faintly. Do not let it go to your head, little one. They continued walking until they reached a river, its water glowing faintly blue under the alien moonlight. Daniel knelt, splashing the cool liquid on his face while she filled her large hands to drink. For the first time since arriving on Zerath, Daniel felt a strange peace. But the peace didn't last long. From across the river, glowing shapes began to gather, eyes in the dark, low growls rumbling. Daniel's hand went to his empty pistol, then stopped. He was out of power. He looked to her. She rose slowly, her spear gleaming in the moonlight. Her voice was steady, but her words carried weight. The beast will never stop, not here. If we survive this night, you will have proven yourself beyond doubt. Daniel stood beside her, weaponless but unflinching. Then we survived together. She glanced at him once more, her expression unreadable, but her glowing eyes were softer than ever. Together, she repeated. As the shadows closed in, Daniel realized something had changed forever. He was no longer just a human trying to prove himself. He was fighting with her, not beneath her. And in that moment he understood. Size did not define him. Trust did. Loyalty did. And those things were stronger than any muscle. The bond between them had begun. A bond beyond size, forged not by power, but by courage. And whatever dangers the night held, Daniel knew he would face them without fear, because he was no longer alone. The river glowed faintly under the alien moonlight, its waters alive with strange blue currents. Across its banks, shadows moved restlessly, eyes glimmering in the dark. The predators had gathered again, larger in number, fiercer in hunger. Their growls rolled over the water like a storm ready to break. Daniel tightened his fists, though he had no weapon left. His pistol was drained, his explosives gone. He had nothing but his wits and his will. Beside him, the towering alien warrior raised her crystal spear. Her broad shoulders gleamed under the starlight, but Daniel could see the exhaustion in her movements. Even someone as mighty as her could not fight forever. "This is the end of the trial," she said quietly, her voice carrying both pride and sorrow. "The scar will not stop. Either we stand, or we fall." Daniel looked up at her, his body shaking from fatigue but his spirit burning stronger than ever. "Then we stand, together." The alien woman's glowing eyes met his. For a long moment they were silent, only the river rushing between them. Then with a fierce nod she stepped forward, planting her spear firmly into the ground. "Very well, human. Tonight we fight as one." The predators struck. They burst from the shadows in a wave of snarls and flashing claws. The alien warrior moved like lightning, her spear slicing arcs of light through the night. Every strike she made crushed bone and tore flesh, but for each beast she brought down, another leapt to take its place. Daniel darted through the chaos, smaller, quicker, less of a target. He hurled rocks, grabbed fallen branches, and used the terrain to his advantage. Once he leapt from a tree root onto the back of a beast, jamming a sharpened stick into its eye. It howled, giving her the opening to drive her spear through its chest. Their rhythm built, human and alien moving together, covering each other's weaknesses. She shielded him from claws that could have ripped him apart, while he created distractions, turning her precise strikes into killing blows. But the tide was endless. More scar poured from the trees, their glowing eyes reflecting hunger and rage. The ground shook beneath their charge. Daniel's chest tightened. They couldn't fight forever. Then, in the middle of the chaos, he noticed something. Across the river, half hidden by roots, was a cluster of glowing crystals. They pulsed with energy, brighter than anything he had seen on this world. His mind raced. If he could overload those crystals, the blast might be enough to scatter the pack. He turned to her, shouting above the roars. "The crystals. They're unstable. We can use them!" She glanced, her eyes narrowing. "The blast will kill anything too close. You will not survive." Daniel's voice was steady. "Maybe not. But you will." "That's enough." Her expression froze, shock flashing across her face. "You would sacrifice yourself." "For me?" Daniel's answer was simple. "For you, for us, for survival." For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. The growls, the blood, the chaos, it all blurred. Her towering figure loomed over him, but her glowing eyes carried something he had never seen before. Fear. Not for herself, but for him. "No," she said firmly, her voice shaking with more emotion than he thought possible. "You have already proven yourself human. Your spirit is greater than size. If one of us falls tonight, it will not be you." Daniel stared at her, stunned. "Then what's the plan?" Her jaw tightened. She ripped a glowing shard from her own spear and pressed it into his hands. Run to the crystals. I will hold them back. When you strike, I will shield you from the blast. He shook his head. That'll kill you. She leaned closer, her towering form casting him in shadow. Trust me. This is my choice, Daniel's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to argue, but he saw the resolve in her glowing eyes. She was willing to risk everything for him, just as he had for her. Their bond had gone beyond size, beyond species. It was trust pure and unbreakable. With no time left, he nodded. Together. Together. She echoed. Daniel sprinted toward the crystals, the shard burning hot in his grip. Behind him, the alien warrior roared, her spear flashing as she cut down beast after beast, buying him every second. He reached the cluster, slammed the shard deep into the glowing core, and dove for cover. The crystals flared, light blinding as the energy built. A thunderous explosion ripped through the clearing, waves of fire and light scattering the scar in all directions. The ground shook as trees toppled, smoke rising into the sky. Daniel coughed, ears ringing, body aching. Slowly he pushed himself up, expecting to see her body shattered. But there she stood, bloodied, battered, yet alive. Her armor cracked, her skin scorched, but she was standing. She had shielded him with her own body, taking the brunt of the blast. Daniel staggered toward her, his throat tight. You saved me. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Perhaps size does not decide who saves who. They both collapsed against a fallen log side by side. The forest was quiet now, the predators gone, scattered by the blast. Above them, the alien sky glowed with stars. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she turned her head toward him. You are small, human. Smaller than any of my kind. But your courage, it is larger than any I have ever known. Daniel smiled weakly. And you're bigger than anyone I've ever fought beside. Guess we make a good pair. She chuckled softly, her deep voice echoing like distant thunder. Perhaps more than a pair. Perhaps a beginning. As the alien night wrapped around them, Daniel realized the final choice had been made. Not about who was stronger or who was greater, but about who they had chosen to stand with. And in that moment he knew. No size, no species, no difference could break the bond they had forged in fire and blood. Humanity had proven itself once again. HFY, because courage is the one strength that giants cannot measure.